Total access at the NAB AFL Draft Combine. And before we introduce our next guest, Ben Broad, the trading expert, we're going to hear from Nigel Carmody, a leading player manager from Elite Sports Properties. Robbie D'Orazio caught up with him.
Nige, thanks for joining us on Total Access.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you're an accredited AFL football manager. What role does a manager play in the life of a football player these days?
Yeah, it's really a common set of services, I suppose, you perform for every player around contract negotiation, assisting them with their financial and off-field opportunities. You play a welfare role, probably dependent on your own expertise and the expertise of your own business. Football advice, and I guess we're lucky here at ESP that most of our managers have had an experience at least at a state league level of the game. And look, beyond that, it's really just about being able to work in with whatever your client's going to require, and thankfully we've got a reasonably big network that's going to allow us to move with whatever our clients are going to need.
Does every player need a manager?
I think so, and I'm probably in a biased position, but I think now the statistics would show that at least probably 98 or 99% of the competition have a manager, and I think the level of service now that's provided across the board, players would probably be doing themselves a disservice to not have one in their place, and I think AFL clubs and probably the industry as a whole would agree that it's certainly a pretty necessary service.
And going into Combine Draft Week this week, what's your role as a manager leading into the actual event?
Yeah, for the players we've signed leading into the Combine, we work with them on basically preparing them to perform the best they can. Really, it's a 3 or 4 day job interview in a lot of ways for the players. They've had a lot of exposure to the clubs through their own football through the course of the year, but I guess this is seeing the clubs in a more intimate environment with not only the testing that they're going to do, but the interviews, which is a pretty important thing. I mean, it's a chance for some of these guys to essentially have the first job interviews, I suppose, they've ever really done in their lives. So it's a very important thing for them to do, and it's an intense environment. They're around AFL players and coaches and industry figureheads that they've seen on television and grown up idolising in a lot of ways. So that can be intimidating. So just try and relax them, tell them that they've done a lot of the work, they're going up there well prepared, and hopefully they can just put their best foot forward and show to the AFL clubs that it's something that they really, really want to do.
So would you sit a player down leading into the Combine and actually go through some scenarios and some examples? Certainly
we'll refer to, I guess, testing from previous years and showing players in those particular categories what the benchmarks, I suppose, are for players in their positions from previous camps. And then probably just in terms of the interviewing technique, I mean, for all footballers, as you know, you're dealing with everything from extroverts to introverts and probably every personality type in between, and everyone's got different strengths and weaknesses. So just helping the guys to understand, to go in there and be honest, have a think about the people they're speaking to, and dealing with them with a level of respect, but also perhaps going in researched and knowing a bit about the footy clubs you're going to speak to, because it shows that you've taken the time to not only consider, I guess, what they want to know about you, but also what you want to know about them. And some of your better players that you've got on your portfolio at the moment? Yeah, lucky enough to have some guys that have gone through the Combine through recent seasons and thankfully gone on and had pretty successful AFL careers to date. So the likes of Bryce Gibbs and Matthew Cruiser at Carlton, Ryan Griffin from the Western Bulldogs, Sam Fisher at St Kilda. So got a good spread of players. As a business, we look after about 140 players across the competition at all of the now 18 clubs, I guess, and got a good spread with 7 accredited agents as well.
Player manager Nigel Carmody there talking to Robbie D'Orazio. It's now time to talk trade, and who better to do that than the AFL.com.au trade expert, Ben Broad. Ben, welcome.
Thanks, Damo.
Big day today, isn't it, with Gary Ablett finally confirming what we've been talking about for a year, that he's going. What do the Cats get in return? Because there's been a lot of debate about this.
Yeah, another massive day. Look, we still don't know. Obviously, we have to wait for the AFL's official compensation to come out. It's probably definitely doesn't really make sense, but it's likely to be 2 first-round draft picks. Now, exactly what those 2 first-rounders will be,
we'll have to wait. A lot of talk that one of those picks could actually come right after their pick in the draft, or if not right after it, sometime in the middle of that first round. Is
that's
that
right. I think that's what will be up for debate. They'll definitely get one probably straight after their first rounder. Now, where the other one comes, that's probably going to be up for debate. Now, a lot of people think it will come at the end of the first round. I think there is scope for it to potentially be in the middle of the first round somewhere.
And Geelong will be pushing to have it straight after their selection.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Unless they win the premiership and they don't want it too far back. But
he'll be classed, obviously, as the highest calibre player out there. Yep. So it'll be really interesting to see. I mean, guys, your opinions. Obviously, you're as esteemed as anyone. Where do you think, what is Gary Ablett worth?
Oh, well, look, we've seen it 3 years ago with Chris Judd, the greatest player in the game at the time, and obviously Ablett now. So you do need to get well compensated. And obviously with the Judd, it was a first round pick, and obviously a trade of a player who was a pick 4 in the national draft. So you're going to want a high quality in return. And they're well set up. It's probably been well documented all year that he's going to leave. So it's a great position for Geelong now to potentially get 3 young players in over a couple-year period and rebuild what is probably an ageing list.
But they can't use these picks until the end of... Sorry, they can't use these picks in the first round if they use them in the first 2 years.
Yep. So that's because GWS coming in next year, the Gold Coast this year, they're compromised draft. So the first time they can use these picks they'll get in the first round is 3 years from now.
That's right. So is there any benefit, do you think, in using them now, or should they hold off and wait?
That's a really good list management discussion, and that'll be something to look closely at, because you are in a situation where we've seen a lot of talent here, but you do know that what's happening this year will happen again next year, as Damo mentioned. So it's fair to say I think the recruiting staff at Geelong might be out scouring some under-14 footy to have a look at what is going to be there in a couple of years' time.
We've been tagging Stephen Wells this morning. He obviously isn't giving any comment yet until they know the exact compensation.
Yeah, sure. Don't rule out them using one of those picks this year in the first round. He did say that yesterday. Jason, tomorrow the footies come out.
The footies are out.
Testing, so the players will be pretty happy, I reckon.
Yeah, look, it's a great opportunity. We've seen physical testing today. We've got more this afternoon, but tomorrow the kicking assessment, but also that was introduced last year, the Nathan Buckley kicking test, but the clean hands and handball, which Matthew Lloyd's devised, that's going to be really good to see that the boys actually, so imperative. You've got to be able to use the ball well, especially the way the modern game's played. And then we've got the shuttle run, one that they probably dread a little bit, but once again a key component of the modern game. So that's all what's coming up tomorrow, and it's a really good day tomorrow.
Guys, that's it for another Total Access. Ben Broad, Jason McCartney, Paul Daffy, thank you.
Thank you.
And as I said, you are watching Total Access at the NAB AFL Draft Combine. It's on afl.com.au. It's also on the Footy channel on Big Pond TV at 5:30 and again at 9 o'clock. You're watching, and you have been watching, Total Access from the AIS in Canberra.